This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by
for discussion and vote on the proposed amendment to the Manchester City Charter resulting from a voter petition initiative providing for the insertion of Section 6.15 limitation on the budget process to a public ballot this November. So moved by Alderman Garrity, seconded by Alderman Sullivan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Roll call, Your Honor.
Roll call request by Alderman O'Neill.
Alderman O'Neill?
No.
Alderman Lopez?
No.
Alderman Shea?
No.
Alderman DeVries?
No.
Alderman Garrity?
Yes.
Alderman Smith?
No.
Alderman Olet?
No.
Alderman Domain?
Yes.
Alderman McElroy?
No.
Alderman Gadsden?
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan?
Yes.
Alderman Jim Roy?
No.
Alderman Osborne?
Yes.
Alderman Pinard?
Yes.
Motion fails. I'll certainly take another motion. I might want to remind people, as I stated earlier in the week, that regardless of your opinion of the ballot question, you have a legal and fiduciary responsibility to place this on the ballot. So I think somebody who voted in the negative needs to do the right thing and change their mind. This is not about whether you This really is not about whether you support or oppose the initiative itself. This is about adhering to a voter petition initiative that garnered the requisite number of voting members of our city demanding this be placed on the ballot. Again, as I said last week, the merits of the issue can be debated over the course of the next 2 months. I would be more than happy to post meetings here on a weekly basis for those individuals who want to provide additional information for the public's consumption.
A group of lawyers in Washington got together. They provided a lot of resources for certain individuals. These individuals came back to Manchester. What they tried to do is get anything on the ballot so that they can have outside money, not accountable, so that they can filter it in to not only New Hampshire but other places. Now, that is a given. That is a given. So they can dispute.
Just excuse me.
That's okay.
I am going to ask people from the gallery on both sides of the issue if we could try to refrain so we can conduct.
And I'm heading out of the meeting to try and go get this on the air, and in the process I want to try and summarize some of the more interesting things that were said at the meeting. I want to focus on the most impressive and then the most outrageous arguments that were made against the cap, or against putting the cap on the November ballot. The argument against it that struck me as the most impressive was simply that they felt that one alderman felt that the fact that the Attorney General, the state bureaucrats had not yet ruled on the wording of the ballot indicated that if they put it on the ballot, they might have an election for it and then have it all annulled, which they claimed happened earlier with a different issue. Now, the most outrageous idea that I heard, though, was that they needed that time in order to put together meetings in which the city council, or I mean not city council, but the board of aldermen would educate the voters. Why do we need the board of aldermen to educate us anyway? Mayor Ginther, for all his flaws and all my disagreements with him, he was really kind of at his best tonight, or at least, I don't know, I haven't seen him in action that often, but he was doing pretty good. The issue could get pushed back until September. I think there's some sort of September election about a year from now. And of course, I'm just guessing that the big spenders on the board are hoping that over that 1 year period, voters just forget about what they did to us this year by trying to keep this off the ballot. Ginther kept trying to make the point that this wasn't really an issue about whether or not the spending cap was a good thing. It was a question of whether to let a large number of Manchester voters make the decision, or whether that should, the thing should be put on an election where not many people were going to show up. I also have some numbers and some thoughts with regard to the demonstration that you saw earlier. I counted about 30 minutes into the demonstration, 30 minutes before the meeting started, I counted 42 demonstrators in favor of the spending cap, in favor of putting it on the November ballot. That number continued to go up over the next, half hour, 45 minutes at least. I didn't get a clear count, didn't try to count the number of people who were there to either demonstrate or be there in favor of, the people who were there against the spending cap. I would say I saw about 5 signs against the cap. There were a lot more people than that who were there against the cap. Most of them were just standing around. They were government employees for the most part. As you saw, it seemed like the firefighters had a pretty strong presence, and unfortunately, that gentleman, the firefighter who told me he would get somebody from the firefighters bunch to talk to me, they never did. They never did catch up with me, and I don't know if that was because he just arrived late or they didn't know where I was or whatnot. But that never happened. I would have definitely interviewed them if I could have. I would much rather interview people who I disagree with than people who I agree with, because it's more interesting. But my hat's off to the many people who did disagree with me and were still willing to talk to me, and they knew that I was against them, but they were still willing to go on camera, and that takes a little bit of courage, and I appreciate that. The impression I got from the aldermen who were, trying to keep it off the November ballot was that they want time to do an attack job on the New Hampshire Advantage Coalition and on this entire endeavor on the spending cap itself. They want to have as much time as they possibly can find in order to drag this thing down. And you saw them just, throwing out accusations against the New Hampshire Advantage Coalition. Where are these calls coming from? The New Hampshire Advantage Coalition. Where is their money coming from? That sort of thing. Is there any outside influence? So there was just, the demonization process has begun, and that's, of course, a sign that the New Hampshire Advantage Coalition has arrived. Now, I should say, by full disclosure, I have worked for the New Hampshire Advantage Coalition as a petitioner and been paid a bit to do that. So it's hard, it's impossible for me to be, objective about the New Hampshire Advantage Coalition. So remember to take what I'm saying is what it is, propaganda. But propaganda that calls itself what it is. This is Dave Ridley signing off from RidleyReport.com this September 5th. 2008, Manchester, New Hampshire.
New Hampshire's State House, among the least bad governing institutions on earth. But even here, legislators plot theft and destruction. However, they don't do it without opposition. The New Hampshire Liberty Alliance stands in their path and stands ready to train you in the ways of the citizen.